In 2016, a watch company sent out an email at midnight. The subject line was simple: 72 hours left. By morning, their servers had crashed. Customers were calling, emailing, even showing up at their small office in Detroit. The watch wasn't particularly special, a simple mechanical design, nothing revolutionary. But here's what nobody expected: there was no actual deadline. The company had plenty of inventory. They just discovered something that would change everything about how they did business. And they're not alone. You've seen it everywhere. The countdown timer on the booking site. The only 2 left in stock warning on Amazon. The limited edition sneaker drop that sells out in minutes. Most people think this is just modern marketing noise. But what if I told you that scarcity isn't a tactic, it's a fundamental rewiring of how our brains make decisions? And what if the brands using it understand something about you that you don't fully understand about yourself? This is the story of why scarcity works, where it came from, and what it means for every dollar you spend. To understand scarcity marketing, we need to go back to 1938. De Beers, the diamond company, had a problem. Diamonds weren't actually rare. Their vaults in London were filled with them. But the company's entire business model depended on people believing they were precious and scarce. So they did something radical: they controlled the supply. They bought up mines, limited distribution, and launched a campaign that would become the most successful marketing story of the 20th century. "A diamond is forever" wasn't just a slogan, it was a carefully constructed illusion of scarcity. De Beers didn't just limit supply. They understood something deeper: scarcity creates value in our minds independent of actual worth. A diamond sitting in a vault doesn't become more beautiful. Its molecular structure doesn't change. But the moment we believe it's rare, it becomes more desirable. This psychological principle, that scarcity increases perceived value, became the foundation for almost every marketing strategy you see today. The difference is that De Beers had actual control over supply. Modern brands rarely do. So they had to get creative. In 1975, a psychologist named Stephen Wurtzel ran an unusual experiment. He put cookies in 2 identical jars. One jar had 10 cookies. The other had just 2. Then he asked people to rate how much they'd enjoy the cookies. The cookies were exactly the same recipe, same batch, same everything. But the people who saw the jar with only 2 cookies rated them as more desirable, more valuable, and better tasting. They hadn't even eaten them yet. Wurtzel had just proven that scarcity doesn't need to be real to work. It just needs to be perceived. Here's what happens in your brain when you see only 3 left. Your amygdala, the part responsible for emotional responses, lights up. It's the same region that activates when you sense danger. Your body releases cortisol, a stress hormone. Suddenly, you're not just shopping. You're in a mild state of fight or flight. The rational part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, tries to calm things down. But the amygdala is faster. By the time your rational brain catches up, you've already clicked by now. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's evolution. For most of human history, scarcity meant survival. For 99% of human history, scarcity was the default state. Food could run out. Water sources could dry up. Winter could kill you if you didn't prepare. Our ancestors who took scarcity seriously, who grabbed resources when they appeared, survived. Those who hesitated didn't. So natural selection wired us to react quickly to scarcity signals. It's why you feel a pang of anxiety when you see that last croissant in the bakery case. Your ancient brain thinks you might starve. Your modern brain knows you have a refrigerator full of food at home. But the ancient brain speaks first, and it speaks louder. By the mid-1990s, Thai Incorporated had mastered artificial scarcity. They produced Beanie Babies, small stuffed animals that cost less than $5. But instead of flooding stores, they limited supply to small retailers and constantly retired designs. Suddenly, parents were paying hundreds, sometimes thousands, for a plush toy. The company never advertised. They didn't need to. Scarcity did all the work. People lined up at stores. They traded Beanie Babies like stocks. For a brief moment, a purple bear named Princess sold for over $200,000. Then, as quickly as it started, the bubble burst. People woke up holding bags full of stuffed animals worth almost nothing. The Beanie Baby crash should have been a warning. But brands learned the opposite lesson. They saw that artificial scarcity could create billion-dollar markets out of thin air. The key was to never let the bubble fully burst. Keep the cycle going. Drop limited releases. Create hype. Sell out. Repeat. This model migrated from toys to sneakers, from sneakers to streetwear, from streetwear to everything. Supreme built an empire on it. Luxury brands adopted it. Even grocery stores use it now. The strategy evolved, but the core insight remained: people will pay more and decide faster when they believe something might disappear. The internet changed everything about scarcity. In a physical store, you can see if something is actually running out. Online, you're trusting a number on a screen. And that number can say anything. Booking.com pioneered the anxiety-inducing countdown timer in the early 2000s. 12 people are looking at this hotel. Only one room left at this price. Reserved 10 times in the last 24 hours. Were these claims always true? An investigation by consumer groups found many were exaggerated or completely fabricated. It didn't matter. Bookings skyrocketed. Soon, every e-commerce site had countdown timers. The artificial urgency became the norm. Here's what most people miss: not all scarcity is created equal. Real scarcity happens when there's a genuine constraint, limited ingredients, production capacity, or time. A restaurant can only serve so many meals per night. A handmade product takes time to create. But fake scarcity is manufactured purely for psychological manipulation. The inventory exists. The deadline is arbitrary. The shortage is a choice, not a constraint. The problem is they look identical to consumers. Both use the same language, the same urgency, the same fear. Learning to tell them apart is the difference between making smart decisions and being played. Supreme took artificial scarcity to its logical extreme. Every Thursday at 11 a.m., they release new items online. Quantities are limited. No restocks. No exceptions. Items sell out in seconds. Resellers immediately list them for triple the price. The brand produces enough hoodies to meet demand, they choose not to. Why? Because the scarcity is the product. People aren't just buying a sweatshirt. They're buying proof they were fast enough, connected enough, dedicated enough to get one. The scarcity transforms a $70 hoodie into a $300 status symbol. It's not about the clothing. It's never been about the clothing. In 2017, Snapchat released a limited edition line of camera sunglasses. They sold them through mysterious vending machines that appeared randomly in cities. The scarcity drove massive hype. People tracked the machines, waited in long lines, bought multiple pairs. Snapchat sold out immediately. Then they made a critical error: they produced millions more to meet demand. Suddenly, the scarce product was everywhere. The magic vanished overnight. By 2018, Snapchat had nearly $40 million in unsold inventory sitting in warehouses. They'd broken the cardinal rule: scarcity only works if you maintain it relentlessly. The moment abundance appears, perceived value collapses. Scarcity marketing isn't just clever psychology. It has real costs. It encourages overconsumption. People buy things they don't need because they fear missing out. It rewards impulse over deliberation. It creates anxiety where none should exist. Studies show that exposure to scarcity marketing increases stress levels and decreases financial decision-making quality. It particularly affects vulnerable populations, young people, those with shopping addiction, people in financial stress. And it's everywhere now. Not just luxury goods or special releases. Groceries. Streaming content. Digital subscriptions. Even healthcare is packaged with urgency timers. We've normalized living in a state of manufactured panic about running out. So how do you protect yourself? First, recognize the pattern. When you feel sudden urgency to buy, pause. That feeling is the signal. Second, ask whether the scarcity is real. Is this genuinely limited by production or just by choice? Third, check if the deal actually repeats. Many one-time only sales happen monthly. Fourth, search the product name plus restock. You'll often find the scarce item comes back regularly. Fifth, give yourself a 24-hour rule. If you still want it tomorrow, it's not just fear. These aren't perfect solutions, but they create space between the trigger and your wallet. And space is power. Here's what matters more than spotting scarcity tactics: asking why you want the thing in the first place. Scarcity doesn't create desire from nothing. It amplifies existing wants. The countdown timer doesn't make you want the hotel room, it makes you afraid of losing it. The limited edition doesn't create taste, it adds urgency to taste you already have. So the real question isn't, is this scarcity real? It's, do I actually want this, or am I just reacting to the fear of missing out? That distinction changes everything. One is about the product. The other is about your relationship with fear, status, and enough. The good news is that once you see the pattern, it loses power. Scarcity marketing works best when it's invisible, when you think you're making free choices. But you're not helpless. Every time you pause, every time you question the urgency, you're rewiring your response. You're choosing deliberation over impulse. And here's the irony: the things that are genuinely scarce, your time, your attention, your peace of mind, those are the things worth protecting. Not from missing a deal, but from the constant manufactured anxiety of a world trying to convince you that everything is running out. Because the real scarcity isn't in the stores. It's in the quiet moments when you're not being sold to. So here's the real story behind why brands use scarcity: because it works on a part of your brain that evolved when scarcity meant life or death. Because it short-circuits rational decision-making and triggers ancient survival instincts. Because it transforms ordinary products into status symbols and simple purchases into emotional victories. But also because you can learn to recognize it. You can create space between the trigger and your response. You can ask better questions. The brands will keep using scarcity, it's too effective to abandon. But you don't have to keep falling for it. The watch company from the beginning still sends those emails. The difference is, now you know the 72 hours was never real. And knowing changes everything.